You can just follow your list or check out the What's New or What's Hot tabs, or you can dig a little deeper into the Netflix archives to find some truly outstanding, under-the-radar films. Here's a look at some of the best stuff to add to your queue the next time you don't know what to watch. The South Korean film industry is thriving, and Revenger is one of the most bone-shattering creative exports. Directed by Seung-won Lee, Revenger focuses on protagonist Kim Yul, who's sentenced to life in prison on an island known only as AP-101. The island is a dumping ground to keep the most violent criminals away from society and supposedly impossible to escape from. But here's the twist. Yul isn't trying to get out. He got himself thrown into AP-101 on purpose to find the man responsible for the brutal murders of his family and avenge their deaths. He quickly connects with other inmates who were wrongfully sentenced and puts his investigative skills and his combat expertise to good use to complete his mission. The plot of Revenger is certainly predictable enough to anyone who enjoys action films, but the fight scenes are packed with the kind of choreography that will make you ask, wait, how did he do that? It's hard to take your eyes off the insanely talented star Bruce Caan as he takes down the bad guys one by one. Based on a true story, Solo was originally released in Spain in August 2018, and now Netflix is bringing it to international audiences. When Alvaro wakes up hungover and depressed in his Jeep in the Canary Islands, all he can think about is the fight he just had with his girlfriend and his newfound discovery that his close friend Nello is leaving him behind to move to Canada. He decides to grab his surfboard and catch a few waves to get his mind off everything, but on his way down to the beach, he falls and slides down the cliffs into the water, crashing against the rocks below. He hits his head and begins hallucinating, reflecting on his life and his relationships as he struggles to keep breathing. In Solo, the gorgeous setting of the Canary Islands suddenly becomes foreboding and dangerous. Solo is the kind of film that prompts you to consider what would run through your mind if you were fighting for survival. It's not an easy watch, but one that will stay with you. Not only is Lionheart the first Nigerian Netflix original, it's also Nigerian superstar Genevieve Naji's directorial debut. And she just so happens to be the star of the film as well, putting her talents on full display. When her father has to step back from running his transport company because of medical issues, his daughter Adeyeze decides she's ready to take on the challenge, and appoints her uncle Godswill, who proves tough to work with. When Adeyeze and Godswill discover that the company's finances are in shambles.
So, given our current situation, can you tell us how bad the numbers are?
Bad. Try abysmal, madam.
They're forced to set their differences aside and cooperate in order to save the business. This lighthearted family drama serves up more than just a few laughs and a strong feminist message. Kingdom is another solid Netflix original out of South Korea, adapted from the webcomic series Kingdom of the Gods. This genre-bending series pulls its inspiration from both historical fiction and creepy zombie flicks to create a fresh and exciting storyline. When a dead king comes back to life, his resurrection seems to be the catalyst for a plague of mysterious origins. In order to save the kingdom, the crown prince must accept that the fight for their survival is now his burden to bear. Royal politics and supernatural threats both vie for the center stage in this visually stunning series. With only 6 episodes, Kingdom is easy to watch in a single weekend, which is ideal because once you hit play, you won't want to get up until you watch the season finale. And here's the good news. Season 2 started production in early 2019. Close is based on the life of famous bodyguard Jackie Davis, who once worked for none other than Harry Potter author J.K. Rowling. Directed by Vicky Jusin, the film stars Numi Rapaz as Sam, a highly skilled bodyguard who can make it out of any dangerous situation unscathed. Sam ends up being assigned to protect spoiled and naive teenage heiress Zoe Tanner, who is set to inherit the wealth from her father's mining company.
Take him to the kitchen. He needs to be fed. We leave in an hour. You might want to change.
The two head to Morocco, where Zoe will supposedly be staying at a high-security compound to ensure her safety, but they quickly find themselves under attack. Sam decides that being a protector isn't enough. It's her responsibility to teach Zoe how to fight back and figure out exactly who's coming after her. Rapaz steals the show in this film. She's a tough protagonist with a tender side. While this high-stakes drama has been criticized for a messy third act, it's entertaining enough to invest 90 minutes of your time. Directed by Steven Soderbergh, the sports drama High Flying Bird is unique in both plot and production. For starters, it was shot entirely on an iPhone. During a pro basketball lockout, rookie player Eric Scott wonders if his career has already hit a dead end until Ray Burke suggests an unorthodox business model that could revive the sport and disrupt the entire industry. Instead of relying on the wealthy team owners to cave and end the stalemate, why not let the players themselves take the reins and run their own league, leveraging the internet to independently broadcast games to millions?
What you saw yesterday was just a glimmer, a lightning flash of what could be the beginning of a whole new industry.
The economic critique at the core of the film takes High-Flying Bird outside the realm of traditional sports movies. The biting commentary on the racial and class dynamics within the world of professional sports are apparent in real life, yet these issues are often ignored by casual fans. It's easy to see pro athletes as privileged, but High-Flying Bird questions the power structure integral to this industry. When the owners reap profits off the athletes who put in years of hard work, who really comes out on top? Equal parts buddy comedy and moving tearjerker, Paddleton begins with the diagnosis of a terminal illness, but it's not an inspirational film about beating a disease and going on to live a happy life. When Michael finds out that he has stomach cancer, which his doctor deems incurable, he has no interest in proving her wrong. Instead, he decides he wants to die on his own terms, with the company of his neighbor and only real friend, Andy. Mark doesn't have any major bucket list items to check off. There is no dramatic leap out of a plane, no declarations of love to a long-lost ex. Instead, Mark wants pizza nights complete with corny kung fu films and then reenact those corny kung fu films at an open mic night.
And a great battle ensues, and Lou winds up for what will become known as the death punch.
He also wants to hang out with Andy and play a few more rounds of Paddleton, a racquetball game the pair invented. A film like Paddleton risks falling into feel-good cliches familiar to this general narrative, but the refreshingly authentic friendship between these two misfits makes the movie something that goes far beyond the usual story. Mark doesn't harbor any illusions about a miraculous recovery or a triumph over the impossible. To journey through the quiet acceptance of his own fate, he only needs the companionship of a true friend. It's a reminder that meaning isn't always found in grand, sweeping moments, but in the connections with those we love. You're probably already familiar with Chiwetel Ejiofor from his work as an actor, an impressive filmography that includes prestigious dramas like Children of Men and blockbusters like Doctor Strange. Not only does The Boy Who Harnessed the Wind mark his feature directorial debut, he also wrote the script and appears as the father of the young protagonist. The film is based on the real life of William Kakwamba and the memoir that detailed his incredible achievements as a young boy growing up in a small village in Malawi. Curious and inventive, William is barred from attending school when his parents can no longer pay the fees. His science teacher, however, continues teaching him and allowing him to use the library. When his village suffers from a long drought that results in famine, William must put his skills to good use to create a windmill that will power an electric water pump. There are no surprising twists or turns. It's a straightforward story that leads to a conclusion you'll probably see coming, but William's real-life grit and ingenuity are truly inspiring. If you're looking for another unsettling sci-fi series with the same feel as Black Mirror, Osmosis will be right up your alley. This French series explores a future in which people can use an innovative new dating app to find their soulmate. But it's not as simple as swiping right. Instead, this service mines data from the user's brain. On the surface, it actually seems pretty innocent at first. After all, if you could find the one with perfect accuracy without having to navigate the complicated landscape of modern dating, you'd probably be tempted to give it a shot. But naturally, there are some unintended consequences. As the developers behind the service warn the participants, every experiment has a margin of error. While the idea behind the series isn't exactly groundbreaking, the story itself is engaging and suspenseful, and the futurist virtual reality sequences make for some unique cinematography. When it comes to sheer intensity, Black Summer is a step up from classic zombie films. In this series, the undead aren't lumbering around aimlessly, they're fast, they're hungry, and they're downright terrifying. In the days following the onset of a zombie apocalypse, a group of desperate strangers bands together, hoping that strength in numbers will increase their chances of survival. Sure, it sounds like the beginning of any story about the collapse of society, but Black Summer is relentless in showcasing the full extent of the ensuing violence. The characters don't get a moment to breathe, and neither does the viewer. Be prepared for nauseating gore and plenty of jump scares. Even if you only skimmed Lord of the Flies in high school, you probably remember the basic plot. A group of boys get stranded on an island and attempt to organize their own mini-society until help arrives, but it devolves into chaos and tragedy ensues. That's also the general storyline in the series The Society, but this modern take on the dilemma from the classic novel doesn't feel like a mere rehash with electricity and iPhones. When students return from a school trip to find that everyone in their town has vanished and the community is now surrounded by an impenetrable forest, they quickly realize that they're ill-equipped to handle what comes next.
It's nonsense.
It's Hebrew. It means you've been weighed in the balance and found wanting.
Although teenagers are the audience most likely to find the characters relatable, you don't have to be a high school student to appreciate the ensemble cast and realistic take on adolescent conflict against an apocalyptic backdrop. From the first episode, viewers are sure to find themselves gripped by the mystery. Is the town at the center of some grand experiment, or have they slipped into a parallel universe? Is help on the way? And if it arrives, will it be too late? Check out one of our newest videos right here. Plus, even more Looper videos about your favorite stuff are coming soon. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell so you don't miss a single one.